Alright, everybody. On today's topic, we're going to be going over, of course, the NBA trade deadline again, but primarily over the Miami Heat and what they did over the trade deadline. They're possibly, what I'm hearing over other sources, that they're more they're more of targeting the buyout section, trying to use cash considerations due to their only trade that they did before the deadline around February 7th was get rid of Dwayne Dedman, their backup forward, for some cash considerations by the San Antonio Spurs. That's the only thing they did. That's as worse as the Chicago Bulls that were expected to make some moves over the trade deadline, and as well the Toronto Raptors, already struggling in the middle of the season in the Eastern Conference, falling below 500, sub 500, around fringe play-in, and not doing that exceptionally well. And yet here they are, not getting much done. And I'm not saying the Miami Heat were supposed to make some big money moves like the Brooklyn Nets did to shift their franchise and get some help, but at least some rotation pieces. They can get rid of resourceful bigs that can add some depth over the forward position, while they got rid of while the Clippers got rid of defensively inept players that are good off the offensive run, but Luke Kennard's not good over the defensive stretch. How they always don't close up on close games. So they got rid of Luke Kennard for Mason Plumlee. That will help with his shot blocking and his defense. Reggie Jackson heads over to Charlotte, and now you got some depth in the forward position for Ante Zubac. You see how that actually works? Because the Clippers are still trying to proceed to win. And this is coming from a former first seed that closed out near a 7-game series against the Boston Celtics. Miami Heat are not the same team. They are currently 6th seed. Around I would say 6 games above 500. But obviously around starting off the season slow. Because they were starting off really weak. They only won 2 of their first 5 games. And other than that, they've won over more losing streaks. Just recently, around mid to late November, they lost 4 straight games against fringe bottom seed Eastern Conference opponents, especially when they got shut out in a close one against the Toronto Raptors. And then they got shut out again near 20 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, we seem to do better somewhat on the road sometimes. And that's only if you got the Rockets, Spurs, Thunder, and Pacers. And I'm not saying the Pacers are cheeks, but just knowing how Jimmy Butler's production goes up, Bam Adebayo is great, has been fringe defensive player of the year prowess, good offensive, and actually plays like a real big but undersized over the forward position, and needs some actual depth whenever over rim protection. We could have traded over for Andre Drummond, Brook Lopez, anybody to space out the floor a bit more for more offensive capabilities. Trade over Duncan Robinson for Bogdan Bogdanovic. Thomas Bryant that got shipped over to the Denver Nuggets. I don't know if Pat Riley just slept. I understand possibly some type of mental illness for somebody his age is coming up, but Miami Heat are a bit far away from possibly considering being contenders over the Eastern Conference, even to the loss of the Brooklyn Nets getting rid of their 2 prime franchise players out of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, knowing the Big 3 process kind of failed for them. But at least there's still potential talent that can be involved with Cam Thomas, Spencer Dinwiddie, Yuta Watanabe, and potential late round picks that they actually consumed, while the Heat can barely close out against Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Clippers. We only look somewhat threatening around the Milwaukee Bucks. There hasn't been any show of dominance over the Miami Heat this season, and that comes over the regression of Kyle Lowry that we could have just put over to a ship deal, and all because they're afraid of getting rid of either Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo, that's still over an extensive contract, and still don't think that there's much to even capitalize on over the trade. So I guess there was a bit of stubbornness over the Miami Heat over this deadline that they weren't willing to sacrifice financially, or even to get rid of what's going on, because majority of rotation pieces they have contract wise wouldn't really benefit, like around Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Yatsu Servin, Duncan Robinson, that's overpaid for just being a spot up, being a C-list Ryan Anderson. If any of you guys still remember Ryan Anderson, and just defensive ineptness, and sometimes like weak closing out ability, because sometimes the Heat will be on deck shooting wise, or just completely fly off the mark when it comes to how they shoot. It's literally hot or cold for them, no pun intended. And this is coming from a guy that likes D Wade. I love D Wade, but look at this. Duncan Robinson's the fourth most paid player on the team, with his team capacity coming around 11%. 74 million coming out of him, and that's going to be 16 million coming off the cap space. Caleb Martin making 6 million. Max Strus, Udonis Haslem, that's still higher. That's higher paid than Gabe. Actual key rotation pieces out of Haywood, Highsmith, Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus that are around minimum deals. So most of our prime players that we can actually make major moves with is either Victor Oladipo, that's in decline, Duncan Robinson, and possibly Caleb Martin or Nikola Jovic, that I don't mind getting rid of. That's still over a rookie minimum deal. So I guess when we resign him, that's possibly going to be when we get rid of him. And I'm just conflicted, because I just don't know what's the reason that Miami wants to withhold so much when we're in the second half of the season. So I don't know if they're trying to wait to pull the trigger around the off season, because you don't know how much Kyle Lowry has left over in his career. So that means there's going to be some concerns over in the point guard position, like there should have been anyway. When we already saw D'Angelo Russell shipped off over to the Lakers on that three-way deal. Or we could have made an actual big money move for Terry Rozier, that's been a major distributor, and one of the higher scorers, averaging around near 20 to 30 point games for the Charlotte Hornets. Or Gary Trent Jr. Or Matisse Thybulle, that we just let walk away, that can actually help over with the second unit. So I'm just shocked the Miami Heat were this, I don't know if they're neglective, complacent, or just too, too restrictive over the amount of deals they're able to make with the team that they currently have, market value wise. So that's what I'm just saying. Please comment down comment section below if you feel like the Miami Heat are losers or winners over holding back over the trade deadline, knowing there's so much basketball to still be played. Thanks for watching the DST Show. Like, comment, subscribe if you like it. That's it for me.